My name is AJ Riedel, and you're listening to the Thriving Through podcast, a podcast where each week I have real conversations with self-employed consultants about what it really takes to build a sustainable, profitable, and fulfilling consulting business. So I have a question for you. How do you move beyond transactional selling and build a consultative approach that creates long-term client relationships and recurring revenue? Daniel Bitz and Ty Clinton are here to talk about how they answered that question. They're nutraceutical consultants who help healthcare practitioners integrate high-quality supplements into their practices. They're known for their systematic consultative approach that transforms product sales into comprehensive practice improvement partnerships. With decades of combined experience in the supplement industry, they've helped healthcare professionals achieve measurable revenue growth while improving patient outcomes. If you want to discover how to structure a consultative process that naturally filters out unqualified prospects while building trust with ideal clients, you won't want to miss this episode. Please welcome Daniel Bitz and Ty Clinton. Welcome to this episode of the Thriving Through podcast. Today, my guests are Daniel Bitz and Ty Clinton. Welcome, Daniel and Ty. I'm delighted to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So I have a couple questions that I ask every podcast guest. The first one is, what was your path to becoming a self-employed consultant?
Okay, I can go first. So I'm sorry, but my brother-in-law, when I was younger, he ran a business. I grew up with them and I was around them. Anyways, to make a long story short, my sister died of cancer. My dad died of cancer, and also my brother died of cancer. And so real quickly, you learn that your time is very valuable. And just from that business experience with being around my brother-in-law and watching your family members die, it hit me, and I took it seriously, and your health is serious. And that's how I got into the consulting. I had met Ty, and it kind of blended both of them together where I could take control of my own time. I can help doctors and licensed healthcare professionals with their practice and with their patients. And so it was a perfect fit. And that's how I got into it.
Okay, cool.
Myself, I got into supplements and like higher end supplements, as you call nutraceuticals. I started taking antioxidants probably 30 years ago, and they had good benefits. So then I got into the business and I started selling them. And then I also had cancer about 7 years ago. So then I got very serious about the products and my knowledge and like why things happen. And then the opportunity just really opened up for physicians and healthcare professionals, because it just wasn't a thing 30 years ago. But now they've become much more open, and approximately 80% of the country is taking supplements. So they're taking something. When they go into that office and they leave there, they're going to take something. So it can either be recommended by the doctor, the physician, the chiropractor, the healthcare professional, or they could just go to your local store and just grab something off the shelf. So that's how I got into it. I've been into it for decades, and I enjoy it. It's a growing market.
What I found particularly interesting about your story is that you have a product, but you do it in a consulting way, because you are selling something to the healthcare practitioners, but the way you go to market is fascinating and was full of learning that I think self-employed consultants can apply. So let's take a step back and tell me a little bit about your business and what you do. So you're dealing with nutraceuticals, with supplements, and you're getting them into the hands of healthcare practitioners. But tell us more about that.
So we can go into a doctor's office or any licensed healthcare professional, and we can evaluate their practice in the sense of if they want more profits, more time, whatever their goals are, we can go in there and address those issues. As well as when we do that, we can customize a plan not only to them and their practice, but we can also customize a plan to their patients. So for example, if a doctor specializes in, say, he's an orthopedic, we can specialize more into bone health and joint health and that kind of thing. If they're into immune systems or whatever their specialty is or whatever their niche is, we can customize it to them and their practice and their patients. And so it's a really nice fit because we can show them how to bring in more revenue and while fulfilling the needs of their patients and their practice. It's only getting harder and more challenging with the competition for them to stay afloat and to keep their head above water. So this is a great way to help them and do this. And it dovetails into their practice, so it doesn't take away from what they're currently doing. It's not something in addition to what they're already doing.
Okay. But you found, when we talked earlier, you found that there is some resistance.
Correct.
So how do you overcome that resistance, or do you just move on? If somebody's resistant, you just say, well, they're not my ideal client. Next.
Yeah, I mean, for myself personally, I kind of just run through the numbers and run it up the flagpole and see who salutes it. And the ones that are interested and want to learn more and who are interested in implementing it into their practice, that's who I focus on. I guess in a way, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. And so I'm just going to work with the ones, and I find the ones that want to go ahead and implement our solution. Maybe Ty has a different.
No, that's good. And we also, if they want to go through the process, then they'll go through the process. But if they're not willing to give up, 15 minutes for a discovery meeting, they're either not interested or they're not serious.
And I would debate, how, if they say they're open and they're not willing to talk or have a discovery or strategy session, then I would debate on how open they were to begin with. So the consultative approach that you were talking about earlier is nice because it helps us as we go through the process. It helps us filter through and weed out the people that aren't going to take the initiative.
You take me through the process of how do you find the healthcare practitioners, and then how do you contact them and get that discovery call?
Well, for myself, I like social media. I know Ty, we do word of mouth, and that helps. I know Ty is more into where he likes to see the people face to face, but all of our different approaches, it fits nicely.
Yeah, lately, so I have a friend of mine. He owns a restaurant bar, but he knows a lot of people. So about once a month, he'll send me a message saying, "Hey, Ty, here is he just sent me one the other day. He said, this is a gentleman. He owns 2 PT clinics. Give him a call." So then I would give them, a call, say, "Hey, this is Ty, give me a call. We have, different ways for ancillary income for your practice, to help you with your goals." And then I just go for the discovery meeting. Another one, the same gentleman that referred people to me said, "Oh, I know this lady. She's a great lady, very knowledgeable on her products and her practice. Give her a call." So then I just call them, set the discovery, and go from there.
Okay. And of those people that you contact, what % of them take the discovery call?
I would say for the warm market, or the ones that I would know, probably half of them. But if you're talking social media or different types of marketing, Dan would know that.
I would say like 3 to 5%.
Okay. So you use social media, Daniel. How do you get people to, how do you identify them and then get them to respond to you?
I like to find my niche that I want to focus on. I also like to do blog posts. I like to do social media outreach, build that relationship with them. And then I know part of your question was, what's the process? Well, as I'm talking to them, so I let them know everything is not done tonight. So I offer them consultation, like you said. So I offer them a discovery session or strategy session, and it's about 15, 20 minutes. We talk to them, see if we're a good fit, if we like each other, if we even mesh, and if it makes sense to even talk further. And then they can learn more about what we do and how we can help them, but we can also learn more about them. Next, then we do a consultation. That consultation is where we find out the nuts and bolts of their practice, not the financial numbers necessarily, but what I'm talking about is their patients, what they're focused on, what their objectives are, what they would like to focus on. So like I was saying earlier, if the doctor's an orthopedic or if he's a chiropractor or whatever, depending on their profession, they may or may not focus on certain areas. So we can customize that plan. Once we find out those ideas and numbers from them, then we can come back and show them the profit margins. If they have, for example, if they have a practice with 5,000 patients and 1, 2, 3, 4% convert over, then we can show them that this is the revenue you can expect. And then from there, once we show them the numbers, then it's the implementation process. That's where we get our hands dirty. And that's where we're working with them hand on hand, for a while until more or less they become somewhat independent. We never leave them. We're always working with them. We're always on their side and making sure they're doing well and everything's going the way they want. But there comes a point where they are going to become a little more independent and familiar with our solution, and maybe they don't need as much hand holding as before, but we're always there.
Okay. Give me an example of what the implementation looks like, the working with them. So once they've said, yes, I want to take these supplements, then what's the next step with them?
So we create custom packages based on what they want. We can create a package, whether it's one or many or whatever they want to do. Then we would set up an implementation process in the sense of we would coach them and train them on how to properly introduce this to their practice and to their patients and along with their staff. So we're working with their staff, with everyone, to get this solution up and going. And then as they see, they're going to get more and more familiar with it as time goes on. But it's just that initial up and going, and actually it ends up becoming a lot of fun as time goes on. And they also learn and see that their patients actually are looking for these solutions and for these remedies that they need. They just don't know where to go or where to turn to necessarily. And to go to a Walgreens or go to a Walmart or something, it's just, quite frankly, it's junk. And so here they have a trusted relationship with their healthcare professional. So they trust them, and it's a win-win for everyone. It's a win for the practice, for the doctor, and for the patients.
Yeah, and we also have like for example, we have a health survey. So when let's say they walk into the chiropractor's office, and the chiropractor will give them a health survey. All right, then they'll take the health survey, the doctor can look at it and then they can recommend, oh, on the way out, you're going to want to take this product, you know, for immune, you're going to want to take this product, you know, get it on the way out. And it's mind-boggling sometimes how easy they find out that the system is, you know, because a lot of them give them health surveys anyway, or they have them fill out forms. So when they come in now, they'll just fill out a form. Okay, you know, well, you know, do you want to lose weight, you know, etc. And that helps them, you know, let the patient know what they need.
And nothing's set in stone. You know, we have it where we can do custom blends, so it's specific to the patient. We can also do packages, so it's targeted to a segment of their population that they're servicing. It's also to where I just lost my train of thought, but they
We have products for that.
yeah, I'll think of it. Ty said we have product for that.
So I assume that you have to overcome this. I would think that a lot of doctors and chiropractors would be of the mind that all they have to do is put it on a shelf.
Oh,
you know,
I know what I
the
was
front desk. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember what I was going to say. Nothing's set in stone. A lot of times our practices may only start off with a small package or a small solution, maybe 1, 2, 3 products. But they can, as time goes on, they may find out that their patients, you know, they want a high quality vitamin D, or they want a high quality antioxidant, or they want a high quality calcium or something that gets great absorption. Well, because we can customize it to them, we can add those on, and it's always evolving. It's always growing. A lot of the practices, they'll start off small, and next thing, you know, 6, 8, 12 months down the road, they're adding more and more, not only because they see that their patients want it, but they're getting results and that our solutions actually work, and the patients are feeling better.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, they see that the system works, you know, because you walk in, they think sometimes you want to take over everything, and you know, we don't. We're like, no, if you like what you like, you can continue to use that. But let's just try this. Let's just use this survey. Let's use a couple of these products. And then all of a sudden you go in a month later, and you know, and it was a half a shelf, and all of a sudden it's a full shelf, and all of a sudden the other products start disappearing. It's 2 shelves because they like the system. You know, it doesn't take a lot of their time, doesn't take a lot of their money, you know, so, and they like the system.
The system, yep.
And they also see the revenue. And so once they start seeing the revenue, just like I was mentioning earlier, they start off small and then they grow. But there comes a point where they say, wow, you know, this revenue is for real. It's not something to take lightly. So then they start getting more serious.
There are probably lots of supplement companies trying to do, or are there lots of supplement companies that are trying a similar approach, or are you kind of unique or cutting edge?
Ty?
I don't think there aren't that many good ones out there. And I'm not saying that, that might sound biased because, you know, we're in the industry, but we really don't have that much competition, because even if there's a company out there that does have decent products, they don't have good follow-up. You know, they're not hands-on. They don't have the system. So it's not, there isn't that much competition out there.
And
Okay.
and also to our delivery system, patients actually get the results, they feel the results, and they're just feeling better overall.
Just the best testament of all.
Yes.
Now I want to focus on some things that you've maybe learned in the process of building your businesses. What's been your biggest failure or mistake in this business, and what did you learn from it?
Well, I can tell you mine is I have a tendency, I kind of lean on that. If I grind it out, it will work. And so I have a tendency that if I just grind it out harder, then it will happen the way I want. And as time has gone on, I've learned and grown that sometimes grinding it out isn't always the best option or the best. Just let it do your best, let it go the way it goes. And later on, even though you may not understand it right now, you're thankful for it and it works out in the end. And then you see why it didn't work out or it did work out. And so just enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, and take it one step at a time and do your best, but also be okay with the way it unfolds.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me an example of what you used to do. What do you mean by grinding it out?
Well, for me personally, I would be relentless with follow-up. I mean, I would follow up until they were dead, like,
Wouldn't take no for an answer.
Yeah. I mean, I would go every angle. I wasn't rude or obnoxious or anything, but I would follow up because, well, to me, follow up it shows that you're dependable. It shows that you do what you say, and you say what you do. And that's very important to me. That's the kind of person I am, that when I say something, it's going to be done. And so I like to follow up because it demonstrates that and sometimes too, you have to show people that you have to show them before they necessarily believe. And so once you are doing it and then they see the result and then they see like, oh, okay, I understand what you're talking about and you're right. And I see the revenue coming in, and then they're thankful. Sometimes I grind it out and, sometimes you realize like this wasn't a good fit, and just to be thankful that it did or did not work out. So.
And recognized when to cut them loose.
Yeah, I like to
stop.
I like to know when I go to bed at night that I did every possible thing that I could do, because I'm the type that would stay up all night and be like, oh, I could have done this better. I could have shown this. I could have implemented this. And so it's taken me time, but I've learned that it's okay the way it is. Just accept it and enjoy the journey and the process, and everything works out the way it should.
Okay. Ty, what about you? Your biggest failure or mistake?
I would say that I used to think that everyone would get it, or everyone would understand it, or everyone would want to do it because it just makes sense. But that's not how everyone thinks, and that's not how everyone is programmed, and I have to let that go. Even if it makes so much sense that it takes, it's not going to take any more of their time, it's not going to take any of their money. They're just going to eventually get more time freedom, and they're going to have more money, and they're going to help their patients. It blows my mind, why they wouldn't be open to it. But I realize that not everyone is, because that's just not how we're programmed. That's not how everyone's trained. And I just have to get over that and then just go on to the next person or go on to the next, HP.
Yeah, not everybody's gonna be your want to be your client.
True.
Yeah, and even the ones that are, some practices, they may, like we were saying earlier, some start off small and then they grow and get bigger and add more. That's great. Some start off small and they stay small, which is wonderful too. There's other ones that, they start off bigger or grow bigger and they keep implementing more as well. That's wonderful too. We're happy with all of them. It just depends on whatever fits their needs and whatever fits their practice. And we're not trying to make it where practice A has to compete or fit into practice B or try to be like them.
Very customized.
Exactly.
Now, moving to the future, where do you see this business in 3 to 5 years?
I see it as it's only getting bigger. I mean, diseases and chronic conditions and all of that is only increasing, and it's only going to get more and more. People are going to demand more and more help and alternatives and solutions. So, it's going to keep growing, and I don't think Americans are necessarily getting healthier, and so
I agree with that.
so it fits right into what we're doing, where like I said or mentioned earlier, it's a win-win for everyone. It's a win for the patients, for the doctors, and so I see it as it's going to keep growing.
Yeah, totally.
And how are you going to, I mean, you're very high touch, and you take 10 to 15, you have 10 to 15 clients at a time. So
Correct.
how will you be able to scale your business if you're limited with the number of clients that you can have?
Well, like I said earlier, yes, we take on 10 to 15. And then eventually, as time goes on, we still work with them. It's kind of like an infant or a newborn. And then as they grow and get more mature, then they stand up more on their own 2 feet, and they can manage more, and they know what they're doing. And we keep working with them on a consistent basis, but they may not need as much hand holding as they did previously. So then that allows us to go and help the next practice. But
it's additive.
Yeah, and the nice thing is we don't need hundreds or thousands of practices. We can work with the ones that want to do it, and we can also help the ones that as they become more mature, then we can move on to the next one and help them. Do you have anything to add, Ty?
No, I don't know. It's all true.
If someone listening wanted to apply your consultative approach to their own consulting business, to their sales process, what would be the first step you'd recommend?
Are you asking like in terms of working with us, or if they want to implement
Yeah, it's like, how do they apply what you are doing to their own consulting business?
Well, the things I would mention, or what I would say, is set up an assessment or a strategy session. So that would be 15, 20 minutes. Our assessment or strategy session obviously is going to be a little different than other consultants or other businesses. Not everyone's going to be working with healthcare professionals, but set up an assessment. Next, set up a consultation where you can get into the nuts and bolts with your client, find out what exactly they need and want. If you can customize it to them, that's great. And then, like I said earlier, do an implementation where, whether it's online or in person, you're going to work with them, and they have to know that you're going to work with them and not abandon them at some point. You're going to be there for the long haul. So let them know, but do the implementation process and be willing to work with them as they learn and grow. And the other thing with, at least for me, with online and doing social media and that kind of stuff, I'm really big on, I know I mentioned earlier where the doctors and the chiropractic and healthcare offices have their own packages or offers. Mm-hmm. But I find it very important, even for myself and Ty, we have our own offer. So up front, the health professionals know when they start working with us, they know exactly what they're going to get and what they can expect with us. So, and that also separates us away from the competition as well, and differentiates us, because they can see black and white in writing what we're going to do for them compared to other people or other competition.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I'd say, once you get the leads, moving forward from that, the most important is the appointment, like just getting in front of people. I can't tell you how many times I've been in an appointment. You want a goal, you want a goal when you walk in there. You want to say, okay, this is what we're going to walk out with. But sometimes you don't, and I just want to get in front of them. I just want to get that appointment, and I want to get in front of them because then they know you're a person, they know you're real, and then you follow up, and then it becomes all about their relationship.
Good advice.
And
good advice.
And it's also nice. And it's also nicer. It's nice too, as well, where I'm a little more on the tech end. Ty's a little more on the in-person end. And so if you're able to have a friend or a business partner or a mentor or someone that you can work with, that's a nice additive too, because Ty and I kind of fill in the gaps with each other where I'm a little more techie and he's a little more in person.
Okay. Nice compliment.
Exactly.
Is there any?
I'm sorry. It's not
Go ahead.
Appointments alone, because people think, okay, one person, you might be crazy, but two people aren't crazy. And if you have a whole team behind you, you all can't be crazy.
I like it. As we wrap up the podcast for today, is there anything about your approach that we haven't covered that you think would be valuable for other consultants to know?
I would say don't take it personal. I tend to be more introverted and I might say a little more sensitive and take things personally. But once you have, one of the reasons I like our process of consultation and the assessment and the implementation process and everything, I can kind of, in some degree, take myself out of the equation, and it helps me keep my head straight, and it helps me not take everything so personally, or that this person said this or did that or whatever. So I would say find a process or find steps that help you achieve your goals, and don't worry about taking everything so personally, and just do the numbers, find the right people. Some will, some won't. So, so what?
Okay. I like that. That's important advice. Don't take it personally. They're not there. It is not a reflection on you if they say no or not interested or not open-minded. That is them. But it's really easy in the heat of the moment to feel like it's personal, especially depending on how they communicate it.
Well, I'll give you an example that I always like is, the healthcare professionals, or you could take professional sports or whatever, but you go to medical school, you go to chiropractic school, you do all that training and everything. Not everyone in that class is going to graduate, but that doesn't mean that medicine doesn't work or that chiropractic doesn't work. That just, in some degree, that just may mean that they don't work. And so it helps me keep it where I can be a little more, I don't know if you should say level-headed or keep it in perspective. I guess that's the appropriate way.
Yeah, keep it in perspective. Ty, do you have any final words of wisdom?
Yeah. I would say follow-up is big, because I think the numbers are, like most business transactions don't happen to like the seventh or eighth, touch or contact, which is wild to me because, for, years ago, it used to be like, oh, 3 strikes, they're out. Okay. But now, that's not the case. So just keep following up. And then eventually, the timing might be right in your life, and it might be 6 months down the road. It might be 1 year, down the road, but, just keep following up and then get your foot in the door and build a relationship and go from there.
Can I say one more thing to piggyback on Ty? The thing I wanted to bring out too is that I know I mentioned grinding it out earlier, but so much of a lot of time, I guess my point is a lot of times you can win business and you can win clients just by sticking it through to some degree. I know I mentioned earlier that, sometimes I grind it out too hard, but also to let them know that you're there for them, that you're going to help them. And a lot of competition, a lot of people, they're very flaky. And so, they follow up 1, 2, 3 times, and then that's it. If you stick with it and you can show them that you followed up and you're still there and you're going to help them, and it's the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, 8th time, that's where the deals are made, and that's where the relationships are created, and that's where you win. And they know you're there and you're going to help them, and you're going to succeed together.
You're not a fly by night, you're in it for the long haul.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Stick with it. Don't give up.
Yep.
Well, Daniel and Ty, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was great.
What I want you to remember from Ty and Daniel's story is this: the magic isn't in having the perfect product or service. It's in having a system that builds trust and delivers results consistently. Their three-phase approach of discovery, consultation, and implementation isn't just about supplements. It's a blueprint for any consultant who wants to move from chasing transactions to building lasting partnerships. Here's what I want you to do after this episode. Take a hard look at your current sales process. Are you jumping straight to solutions? Or are you taking time to truly understand your client's specific needs? This week, try adding one element from their system. Maybe it's a 15-minute discovery call before your next proposal, or creating a simple assessment that helps you customize your approach. Small changes in your process can lead to big improvements in your results. And remember Daniel's wisdom about not taking rejection personally. Sometimes, well, all the time, it's not about you or your solution. It's about fit, timing, and readiness. Focus your energy on the clients who are ready to move forward. Thanks for listening to Thriving Through. If this episode helped you think differently about your consulting practice, I'd love for you to share it with other consultants who could benefit. Until next time, keep thriving through.